Okay. So, welcome. Thank you for coming. If you don't mind turning your camera on for a moment, you're welcome to now for a sec. I just like to do this little check-in at the beginning. I will get the majority of you to turn your cameras off following this, just because it does tend to mess with the feed. And to keep things relatively smooth, it'll be easier that way. The other thing is you need to make sure you're muted. Like right now there's someone not muted, Arwen, I got it. So whenever someone's unmuted, it really messes with the whole sound. So just do what you, like if you notice that you're not muted, make sure you do that, unless you need to like speak about something. So thank you for coming, and for showing up for a moment. If you didn't hear the prop situation, couple blocks or your largest books, a blanket or a large towel. I've got a beach towel, which tends to work well because it's thicker. If you have a massage ball, or like literally you can ball up a sock or find something that you could use to put a little bit of pressure against muscle tissue, like you would use a massage ball or a lacrosse ball, or, ooh, that acu ball though is super intense. The little one with all the nubbies, ooh, it's intense. So do whatever you want to there. And I just will take a moment to say, since I've decided to do this, that this is an offering, but it doesn't absolve us of racism. Let's just be very clear that this is a very small piece of work, and that you know can always, we all need to educate ourselves obviously on these things, and just do what you can do to support Black people right now, Black friends of yours, whatever you can do, offer, be just kind. But thank you for coming, and I appreciate your presence, and I hope to offer you some kind of respite. So when you're ready, you can turn your camera off, and we'll get started. You'll start in standing. So if you have the massage ball, we'll go right to ball rolling. I'm just gonna pin my video so I can see. Okay, so you're gonna start at the feet, and let me see. If you have, you know, choices of what you're using, the hardest ball would be your best bet. I feel like someone's muted. Yeah. Okay, sorry, I'm just muting people who are not muted. Okay. So yeah, if you have a choice, use the harder ball. And if you don't, like this would actually be a great place to use, what did I say? A broom handle or something like that, something that's tough and thick. So you're gonna put the ball or broom handle under the ball mound of your foot. And if it is a ball, you're gonna start to windshield wipe the foot. So you'll quite literally just turn your toes in and out and put pressure forward if you can as you do it. So as you tip your weight forward, there'll be more kind of smushing of the skin of the foot and the tissue of the foot over the surface of the ball. And then just swipe a few times side to side. So between big toe and pinky toe. Oh, I might have gotten music. Maybe it's just been super quiet this whole time. So you're turning your foot in and out. And then stop at a really interesting point. Like I'm gonna stop on my big toe, and then I'm gonna shift my weight further forward and maybe bend the knee more, and then maybe straighten the leg and just take a second. And then wipe the foot the other way and go to the pinky. And then lean onto the pinky if you can. And again, you can bend your knee, you can straighten your leg, play with both. Okay, and then you'll lift the heel and you'll start to roll forward and back. So between ball mound of foot and heel. I guess I maybe should have mentioned when I talked about that before. Some of you might have come here just
assuming it was a regular class. And what I meant when I said what I said before was that today all of whatever comes in, whatever donations come in I'm going to send it to Black Lives Matter Toronto. So if you didn't know that, you had no context for that little portion, there you go, there's the context. Now stop at a point that feels interesting, and then keep pressure on the ball and turn your foot, so you kind of spiral the skin of the foot, and then go the other way and turn the foot to the right. And then do that a few times, and maybe you come into a different spot. Like maybe you go more to the arch, more toward the heel, and then just keep like spinning, like you're trying to create a whirling, I can't even say that word, whirling? It's probably a bad choice anyway, a spiral. Okay, and then let that go and give the foot a little shake. And then if you can, press the toe knuckles or toenails to the floor and do a stretch of the front of the ankle, front of the shin. And you can rock to your pinky and then rock to your big toe and go back and forth. Okay, and then you'll put the ball mound of your left foot up on the ball. Heel is pressing down to start, and then you're just going to wipe the foot. Go slow. The teacher that inspires a lot of this ball rolling stuff, I always like the way she put it, where you're kind of sweet talking the muscle tissues. Doesn't always do well to be more aggressive. And then stay on one side to a big toe or pinky, and then shift your weight forward and keep your heel down, but just maybe bend the knee and straighten the leg and play with both, putting quite a bit of pressure up against the toe knuckle. And then back off and go to the pinky or whichever side you weren't on, and then shift again forward. Okay, and then back off of that and lift the heel, and now run the ball across it's the plantar fascia, so between toe knuckles and the base of the heel, or the front of the heel bone, which if you can think about that will be a helpful reference for later. Front of the heel bone. Now stop at an interesting point and then spin. So the ball's not going to move, your foot is going to turn side to side, as if you're trying to pin the plantar fascia against the ball and then spin it. Like you're trying to wring it out. Now go to maybe a different spot and keep moving around like that. Something like this. Okay, and then, let that go. Just a little shake. And then tops of toe knuckles or toenails on the floor if you can do that. And then just move between big toe and pinky and just give that a little bit of time. Okay, and then move what you need, shake it out a little bit. Have some tea. Okay, so you're gonna make your way down to the mat, and you'll just need, well, if you have 2 blocks, you might like 2 blocks, but I'm gonna do this with 1 block, where you'll use the book. And if you do have a massage ball, I wouldn't use the hardest one if you have options. So I've got a squishier one, which I think is better for this, but you can use whatever you want. This would be weird to use the dowel or the broom handle, but you could technically use it and just make sure it's on one side of your upper back and not on your spine, and just see where I'm going first, and then you'll get it. So you can watch first if you need to, or I'll just guide you into supported bridge pose. So you're gonna take your block or book, or you can even roll up the towel, and put it under your pelvis, so that your pelvis is elevated, not that much, and then you're gonna stick the ball under the right side of your upper back,
So between shoulder blade and spine, not on the spine. And then again, if you were using like a broom handle, you would just stick it in on an angle. And that again, you'd probably want to use the tip of it just in between shoulder blade and spine, and just be gentle because it might be really hard. And then take your right arm up. Preferably you'd have the balled up sock or whatever, and that would probably actually work better for this. And then you can, move around and see what you find as far as where the ball is placed. And then let your arm drift out to the side, down toward the floor. And then you'll reach your arm up toward the ceiling and go really slow because this is going to be interesting. Go left with your right arm, so it's going to cross the body. Oh! And I'm going to make all kinds of weird noises, and I hope that you will do the same. This is where I would love to be able to have you mic'd, but it just would be a disaster. Now reach around your body, like you're going to clasp your own left shoulder, and just see how that feels. And then reach your right arm up and out to the side. And then maybe think of like a snow angel, so down toward the hip and then up toward the ear. Move the ball into a slightly different spot if you like, and try it there. The reaching across the body is always, I find, really interesting. You could try the cactus arm as your arm goes out to the side, and then move your cactus arm around. Again, like snow angel kind of thing. And then just take a few breaths and keep playing with this on your own. See if you can start to direct your breath more particularly. Maybe you find one last spot that feels, oh. So I just moved to the top of the shoulder blade rather than the inner edge of the shoulder blade, and I'll suggest maybe you play with it. Make sure you're breathing. And then keep moving your right arm around in any way that feels interesting for you. Oh. Oh, okay. So, if you're ready, you're going to take the ball and put it over on your left side. So, as simply as you can, maneuver ball to the left side of the spine, in between shoulder blade and spine. Again, there's any amount of places you could put the ball and find interesting sensations. So you're welcome to play with it. We've kind of given you a region to explore, and then, you get to identify what feels interesting, helpful. So, snow angel arms, cactus, reaching left and then across the body to the right. And then once in a while, move the ball into a different spot. And I'll give you a good 15 more breaths or so to be here. The thing about self-massage is you don't tend to breathe more unless you're trying. So, just notice when you stop breathing well and see what you can do. We'll get more specific about breath work, when we stop massaging, but just notice what's happening. Oh my God. Oh. Okay, so I've just gone to that last place at the upper shoulder blade. So if you did that last time, do it this time, or just go wherever you went before. Tends to be a lot of drama when you're self-massaging. Anyone? Just me? If there's not a little bit of drama, you might be missing things. Oh. Okay, so you're going to take the ball out and then take the block out and just sway your knees a couple times from side to side. And then you're going to stick the ball or balled up sock. This one is easier to maneuver with a dowel or a broomstick. So you'll put the ball or the tip of the broomstick or whatever under your outer right buttock. So side of pelvis, your, I'm going to use the worst word for it, but I love it, haunch. I know, the new popular cue is going to be haunch. But set the ball in your outer right hip area, and then set your feet super wide and tip both of your knees to the right. So the ball will dig into your right hip, and then bring the knees back to the center and do it again. Tip the knees to the right and heavy your pelvis on the ball. And then just do that a couple times. Maybe you move the ball into a different spot and see if there's something, oh God, interesting there. And there will be, again, interesting things everywhere. Now stay leaning on your right hip with your knees tilted to the right. And then this is an option, slide your right leg to straight. So your foot slides across the floor. And then you're going to slide your foot back and bend your knee. And then try it again. Oh! At maybe a different angle or with, a lift of the foot or a rotation of the thigh bone. So keep exploring. Maybe move the ball to a slightly different spot. I'm going to be laughing this whole time because it never really occurred to me that I don't usually teach a lot of this stuff in online classes, and now that I'm doing it, I'm like, I'm going to be like yelping through the whole thing. Okay. Now this is very optional, and you may or may not do this. Tip to the right and float your right leg a little higher, and then you might float your left leg and put your knees together. And then with your knees together, slide them forward and back and try it a couple times. So you're right on your outer right hip. This might be too intense for some of you, and depending on what object you're using, like that little AccuBall, the tiny one, that little motherfucker, I wouldn't fucks with that. Okay, bring it to center. Set your feet down, move the ball out of the way, and just sway your knees. All right, ball is going to go under your outer left hip, and then you're going to tilt your knees left, and then center, left, and center. And just do that a few times. And then tilt to the side and pause and hold, and maybe slide your leg forward and back a couple of times. Again, you kind of know where you're going now, so you can play with whatever angle. Okay. And then if you did last time, bring your left leg to float a little bit higher and maybe float your right leg to meet it. And then with your legs together and your weight on your left pelvis, slide your legs forward and back a couple times. All right. And then come down and move the ball to the side and sway your knees a couple times side to side. Okay. And then draw your knees in over your hip sockets and rock up into a seat if you can. And however you're comfortable getting seated, do that. So, the blanket or towel you're gonna place near the front of your mat for today. So it's gonna be, like if you take my classes often, it'll be a little different than the placement we would more usually use. So I've got this extra long tall people mat, which I don't need at all. So that might make things a little bit weird as far as your spatial relation compared to mine. But there's a good chunk of mat forward of the towel where your hands will be in down dog. And then the towel will be really close to where your hands will be in down dog. And then I want you to put a block, the very front edge of your mat, on the high setting. And if you don't have the block, you'll use your book, and you'll want it on the low setting because you won't be able to put weight on the block if it's, or on a book if it's on a tall setting. Okay, 10 minutes ago someone told me that the music was too loud, so I apologize. I hope you guys can hear me okay. So hopefully you have a towel near the front of your mat, a block set out past that, and then you might use the block to sit if you need to, but come upright to sit. And any comfortable place that you can be tall. And then if it's okay to close your eyes, close your eyes. Let the chest broaden. And draw your skull back so your spine is really tall. And then just reach your arms straight up. You're gonna catch your left wrist, give it a good squeeze, pull it upward, and then side bend to the right. And as you do, let your head rest on your right arm, like literally in your right biceps, and then pull more on your wrist with your fingers and pull across the room to, let's say, the right corner. And I'm not mirroring you, so if that's confusing, whatever you need. Right hand holds left wrist. Now come up to the center and just switch. Catch right wrist, pull it to the left. And let your head literally rest in your left biceps and pull it across. Just checking the chat. Okay, now you'll come up to the center. Ooh, headphone problems. And then you'll release your hands down into your lap for a second. Close your eyes if that's okay. Draw your skull back and fill your lungs completely. Take your hands to your ribs if you're willing. And then slow the exhalation. Steady the breath in. Feel the ribs expand completely. And as you exhale, narrow and hug the ribs into center. And as you breathe in, just reach your arms straight up. Take cactus arms as you exhale. Widen your elbows. Fan your fingers out. Take an inhale, open your chest and back bend a bit. And then as you exhale, bring your palms and elbows to touch and round your spine. Inhale, just reach your arms up. Catch your right wrist, pull it to the left. Center, rise straight up. Catch your left wrist and pull it to the right. Empty if you can. Come back up as you breathe in. Release to cactus arms as you breathe out. Tilt your elbows forward and your wrists back. And then bring your palms and elbows together and round. Reach your arms straight up, a breath in. Pull the left wrist to the right. Go center. Inhale. Pull the right wrist and go to the left. And then come up to the center. And release your hands to your lap for a moment. Broaden your chest. Fill your lungs. Steady the exhalation. Nearing empty briefly. Breathe in steadily. And breathe out steadily. Take one more breath like this. And then turn to face the front of your mat. And if you don't have that block out there anymore, if you could grab it and put it again at the very top. Highest setting if you have a block. If it's a book, you'll want it on the low setting and just
it'll be fine, it'll work still fine. Set your hands just forward of the towel or blanket and come up to down dog if that's okay. You can always be on your knees. You don't have to do down dog. Now, I want you to shift forward toward a plank and slide your right knee right to pretty much the front of the towel or blanket. So you're in what we'll call neutral pigeon pose. And if you can, come up to your fingertips, bend your back knee, put it down, and then lift your chest and back bend. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale round, tuck your chin, make it a cat spine, and then pull your back knee, stay here for a second, pull your back knee toward your front knee, and vice versa. So that you've got this pull to center that's aiding you in rounding your spine. And should feel relatively deep at the front of your left hip. Now inhale, take a cow spine, back bend. And exhale, round, cat spine. Do it again. Breathe in, cow. See if you can fill your lungs. And then breathe out and round to cat. One last time. Arch, breathe in. This time, tuck your back toes if they're not. You're going to lift your back knee as you round. And then stay lifted, back leg like a plank pose. Pull the back foot toward the front knee. And at the same time, send your left heel back. And lift your upper back a lot. Take another breath like this if you're okay. Now, press into your palms flat. Send your right leg up behind you, three-legged dog. And then just step your foot down gently. Tap your knees, come to cow pose, and breathe in. And then round to child's pose, hips towards your heels. Don't widen your knees, so truly this is Adho Mukha Virasana and not actually child's pose, but we'll call it that just because it's easier for most people. Roll up to sit. If you can't sit on your heels, switch to cross legs. Lift your chest, reverse cow pose. Pull the shoulders toward the back, the sternum forward and up. And the head back, but don't collapse it. Now push off your fingers, catch your knees, and round your spine. Seated cat pose. Ribs back, round spine. You'll slide your hands just forward of the towel. Tuck your toes, slide your left shin to the front of the blanket, and then come to fingertips, put your back knee down. Cow spine, feel back bend. And then round to cat spine and just pause this time. Pull your front knee towards your back knee. Round more. And then back and forth. Inhale, back bend. And exhale, slow to round. Again. And exhale to round. Now, come back one more time to back bend. Tuck the back toes if they're not. You're going to lift the back thigh as you round this time. Push into the fingers or put the palms flat if you don't like being on your fingers. Pull back big toe forward. At the same time, reach the heel back. And lift the hamstrings up. Like it's the back leg of plank pose, or the leg of plank pose. Now, you can put your knee down for a sec to transition flat palms. Take your left leg up in the air for a moment. And then just set your foot down. And tap your knees down and take a little cow. Arch your back. Go to child's pose as you exhale. You'll roll right up to sit. Fingers behind you. Lift your chest. Breathe in. Sigh or whatever. Take another inhale breath. And then spring off your fingers, catch your knees, and pull your ribs back. You'll round your spine. Take a breath, stay here. And a full exhalation. Now you'll slide your hands forward, come right to plank pose. So you'll tuck your toes and lift your thighs. And then go to down dog and bend your knees a whole lot. Now you may want to look at this the first time. Okay. So from here, tap your knees and inhale cow. And then go through child's pose and up to sit. Slide your fingers behind you, lift your chest, just take a breath in.
And then catch your knees and round and breathe out. And slide your hands front of the blanket, tuck your toes, and go to down dog with really, really bent knees. And then you may need to look at this to begin, because it's a bit weird. You're gonna jump your feet about halfway up the mat, and then very, very lightly tap your two knees down onto the towel or blanket. And then you'll lift, jump back into a down dog with bent knees, and try it a couple times. So you hop and you slowly tap your knees, and then you jump back to down dog with really, really bent knees. A couple times. Make it springy if you can. And if your wrists don't appreciate it, then just, tap your knees forward and don't worry about the jumping. And then the next time your knees touch down, you're gonna come up onto your shins and put your hands up on the block. So your wrists are right together, and if you have a low block or a book, it doesn't matter. You can just put your palms at the edge of the book. Take a cow spine and breathe in. And then push and round into a cat spine as you breathe out. Do it a couple times. Inhale as you arch. And then exhale as you round. Again. Now, very optional, come through cow and breathe in. And then empty your lungs, if possible. Push through your mouth, empty, empty, empty. And then you'll pause, empty, and just move around a little bit. Move your hips back. Let your ribs widen. You'll feel suction at the belly. When you're ready, breathe in and come to cow. And then round into cat. Okay, now put your right ankle on top of your left. So you cross your ankles, and you're gonna push your feet down into the floor, and then take your arms up overhead. Now, as you get here, your feet pressing down should also engage your outer buttocks. So you should feel that the glutes are hugging in a little bit and pulling down a little bit. And then as you start to back bend, use your belly to hold you up so that it doesn't collapse into your low spine. Okay, you'll come back up directly, breathe in. And then this is the weirdest thing you're gonna do all day. Angle your right foot out onto the floor to your right, and then step your left foot straight back. So you're in gate pose. You'll lift your arms up strongly, pull your thumbs apart, and then side bend to your left. And hug your right hip in, really pull your thumbs apart. Lift your shoulders and side bend towards your left leg. As you breathe in, come back up through vertical. And you're gonna lower your right fingers to the front of your mat, sweep the left arm overhead, and point your right toes straight back, or more straight back. Variation side plank. Take a deep breath like this. And then you're gonna look down, place your palms, you might need to fix them up, come into plank pose, take an inhale, probably with your knees down, you decide, lower into a little mini chaturanga. You shouldn't be able to get anywhere near chaturanga because of the block being in the way, and if that's not the case, just do whatever you need. Now straighten your arms and breathe in, and then sit inside your fingertips behind you. Take a deep breath in like this, and then you'll catch your knees as you exhale. Hands forward to the towel, tuck your toes. You'll go to down dog with really, really bent knees as you exhale. You're gonna lift your heels, get springy, and then step and kind of jump your knees to the blanket. Do it again. Hop back, down dog. Hop forward, knees tap down. Twice more. Okay, knees down, hands to the block. Inhale, cow. Vacuum the lungs, empty. See if you can stay empty, and then pause, and let your ribs widen so you should feel more suction. When you're ready, you'll stand up to your shins, cross your left ankle on top of your right, hook your thumbs above you, take a really deep breath in, press your ankles down and take a little back bend. Firm outer buttock, in and down, lift the low belly, and then you'll come back up to vertical, angle left foot to the left, and then step your right foot straight back. Take a deep breath in, go up. And then side bend to the right. Take a breath like this. As you inhale, come back up. The left hand down, right arm over the ear. Take just a breath. Look down, center plank pose. Take a deep breath in, knees if you want them. Mini chaturanga. Exhale. You're gonna straighten your arms, slow, breathe in. Tap your knees, sit to your heels if you can. Fingers behind you, take one breath in. And then catch your knees. And hollow, one breath out. Hands forward, tabletop as you inhale, tuck your toes. You go to down dog as you breathe out. You're gonna lift your heels super high. Bend your knees and spring. Knees tap the towel, hands to the block. Inhale, cow. Empty, cat. Stay empty briefly if you feel it. When you need to breathe in, breathe in. Right ankle on left, stand up to your shins, arms overhead, take a deep breath, hook your thumbs. Little back bend as you exhale. Stand up, vertical. Angle the right foot, step the left foot to the side. Take a deep breath, just the one, go up. And then side bend left. Come to center, breathe in. Your right hand down, left arm over the ear. Take an inhale, modified side plank. Place your hand down, come to plank pose as you breathe in. And then little mini chaturanga or whatever you can work with. Straighten your arms slowly. Tap your knees to sit, fingers behind you if you're okay. Take an inhale, lift your chest. And catch your knees. Breathing out. Hands forward to tabletop. Tuck the toes. Exhale, down dog. Lift your heels, look forward. Spring as you exhale. Tap your knees, hands to the blocks. Inhale, cow. Empty, maybe. Pause, empty, maybe. Stand, left ankle on right, hook the thumbs, take an inhale. Little back bend. Exhale. Come up, center. Angle the left foot, step the right foot back. Take a deep breath, go up. And then side bend to the right. Through center. Left hand down, right arm overhead. Take an inhale. Plant the palm, step back. Plank pose, take a deep breath in here. Maybe chaturanga, maybe not. Straighten your arms, breathe in. Down dog, breathe out. Pause. Steady your breath. You could just fold the blanket and put it to the side. And then walk your feet toward your hands. And move the block out of the way if it's still at the front of your mat. Well, actually, you might want blocks for this. So I would like you to try to come into a forward fold here with your feet right at the edge of your mat. So really wide. And I'm gonna put my hands on blocks. I would like you to be able to straighten your legs. So if that requires elevation, you could put your hands on a wall. You can put your hands on a couch, or if you have blocks, put them on blocks. But get your legs straight. Set your heels behind your second and third toes. And then see if you're on the backs of your heels, and do that for a second. Shift to the backs of your heel bones. And if you can see me in the camera, my thighs are definitely diagonal now. See if you can shift now to the front of your heel bones. And then engage your legs, ground your feet, hug your outer hips in just a little, and then start to lower your chest a bit more if that's safe for you. But stay on the front of your heel bones. You might take your hands to the floor, some of you. This might be no problem for some of you, but stay higher if you need it. Hug your outer hips in a little. Stay on the front of your heels. And see what that feels like. Okay, now bring your feet a little bit narrower, more hip width, or maybe right together. And then try the same thing. Be on the front of your heels. Hug your outer hips in slightly. And maybe straighten your legs. And if you're not that familiar with my classes, I was taught to fear straightening the legs. Like everything was bent knees. Just bend your knees, your hamstrings will be fine. Everything I've learned since then doesn't make any sense. You need to straighten your legs at some point. If you have injuries, you do whatever you need to do. But see how this feels and just feel it out. Okay, now you're gonna come up halfway, so long spine. In halfway lift, can you stay on the fronts of your heels? And then press your feet down, lead with your chest, and stand up. So you'll hinge at your hips and come up vertical. And take your arms down by your sides. In Tadasana, you'll be on the backs of your heels. So feel that out. shift weight to the backs of the heels. Press your thighs back and slightly firm your outer hips. Don't clench your buttocks, but can you feel that you're holding the pelvis with your side hips, with your outer hips rather. The front of your hips slightly lift, outer hips, back hips hug in, but you're not tucking your tailbone. And just try to identify where that is for you. It'll look different for each of you. Now take a breath in and just reach your arms up. And then as you fold, maybe you stay with straighter legs, up to you, but see if you can be on the front of your heels as you fold. And then come up halfway and lengthen your spine, front of your heels. Step back, plank pose. If you feel like a little vinyasa, lower halfway, use your knees if you'd like. Point the toes, do any back bend of your choosing. And then from your belly, go back to down dog. Push strongly, if you're okay here. And send your thighs way up and way back. Okay. I'd like you to widen your left foot, just like a foot width, so not that far, and then angle your left heel in quite sharply, okay? Step your right foot towards your right thumb. And see that if you got there in the way that I hope that you did, you should have a bit of space between your feet, so they're not one in front of the other at all. They're pretty wide. And then come up and just straighten your front leg for a sec. Your back heel is down. It's a warrior one stance. Put your left thumb, open your hip a little to the side, to the left. Left thumb in the left underbutt. Okay? Super weird, but just go with it. And then lift the heel of your left foot, just slightly. Barely. So it's still warrior one, it's not high lunge, but the heel is just hovering. Now start to use your left thumb, spin your left hip more forward. It won't perfectly square to the front, just move it in that direction. And then bend your right knee, but keep your back heel lifted for a sec. Firm your left seat into your left thumb. And press gently with your outer hip forward. And then maybe take your arms up. And some of you might ground your back foot, heel down, and some of you might keep the hover. I actually really like the hover. And then really lift your arms and grip your back foot. Bend your front knee generously. And take one more breath like this. You're gonna lower your hands. I'm gonna say down dog. If you really want a vinyasa, go for it. Now, step the right foot out just a little and angle the heel in. And then step your left foot to your left thumb. So rise up to stand, straighten both legs for a sec. So again, the angle of the back foot is sharper, so it's not warrior two at all. Right thumb in the hip, open the hip to the side for a sec. Lift the heel of your right foot, just a little tiny bit. And then spin your right hip forward, use your thumb. But keep your heel angled down, still not a high lunge. And then start to bend your left knee. Keep your right hip wrapping forward. Keep your right thigh pushing into your thumb. And then you take the arms up if it feels good. You maybe ground your back heel completely. You can play with the angle of the back foot. If this doesn't feel right for you, for sure play with it. Go up with your arms. Grip the outer back foot. One more breath. You're going to lower your hands. Step back to down dog unless you really want a vinyasa. Take a deep breath. And then step your right foot forward, again to the thumb. Turn the back heel down, but at a wider angle, and come up for warrior two. Take your thumb into your buttock for a sec. Again, the back hip a little forward. Just a little. Bend your right knee generously. Straighten your back leg, grip your foot, and then take your arms long, warrior two. Now you're gonna come up as you breathe in, just slow, come right up out of it. And then move into the pose as you exhale. Back thigh, powerful. Inhale, come out, patiently. Exhale, move in, patiently. One more time. And bend your knee. Now, pull your ribs a little bit forward and see if you can put your elbow against your right knee and then hug your right buttock in under you as your left arm goes up or over the ear. I like to reach down, hold the ankle or instep, just an option. Back leg powerful. Pull your right hip in strongly. And then you're going to look down, ground your palms. I'll again suggest down dog. You can decide if you want a vinyasa. And you're going to step your left foot forward. Turn your back heel down. Come up. Wider angle of the back foot. Back hip, same idea, a little forward, not completely sideways, square to the edge. And then reach your arms out. As you inhale, come right up out of it. And then exhale, bend the knee. Inhale, patiently. Come up. And then exhale, bend the knee. Move in. One more time. Keep your back leg as powerful as you can. And then you'll slide your ribs forward, your pelvis will angle, elbow to inner knee, right arm goes straight up or overhead. Left hand might hold the ankle. Pull your left buttock in strongly and then reach your right arm overhead. Power the back leg to straight. And spin your ribs to the right. Last breath. You're gonna look down, ground your palms, step back, down dog, or vinyasa if you want to. 3 breaths if you're okay here. Now lift your heels and look forward, breathe in. Bend your knees, step or spring in front of your mat. Take halfway lift. Fold and breathe out. Press your feet, rise to a chair pose. And then stand and take Tadasana. And we'll flow through that a bit. Bend your knees, inhale chair. And fold as you exhale. Lengthen spine. Halfway, be on the front of your heels. Step or hop. Vinyasa or not. Take the back bend of your choosing. And from the belly, lift. Take your right leg up. Step quietly forward. Back heel down for warrior 2. Exhale, settle. A little different this time. Come up as you inhale. Hook your thumbs overhead. And then angle forward in an upright triangle pose. Stay for 1 breath. Pull your right hip under. Make your arms really strong. Now come back up as you inhale. Bend your right knee, warrior 2. Tilt forward. Elbow to knee, left arm over the ear. Take 1 breath. Right hip under you. You'll come down to plank pose. You'll decide chaturanga or down dog. Take a deep breath. From down dog, left leg lifts. Step to left thumb, ish. Back heel down for warrior 2. Bend your knees, settle as you exhale. Come up, arms overhead, 1 breath. Hook your thumbs, do a little tilt of the upper body to the diagonal. Stay for a breath, pull your left hip under. Now come back up, breathe. Bend your left knee. Breathe out, tilt forward. Elbow to knee, side angle, right arm over the ear. Take just a breath here. Left buttock under you. Now look down, plank pose, chaturanga, or down dog. Now right leg up when you're ready. Step forward. Back heel down, warrior 2. Exhale, settle. Come up as you breathe in. Hook your thumbs. Tilt forward, diagonal, triangle. Come back up as you inhale. Warrior 2. Tilt forward, elbow to knee, side angle as you exhale. Now, new peak here, look forward. I'm gonna use a block. Second height, corner of the mat. Float your back leg. And then look at your right knee, bend it. Widen it to the right. Pull your right seat in and up away from the floor, and then start to straighten your right leg, if you can. Straighten your lifted leg for sure. And then take your left arm up if you like. And can you assess being on the front of your right heel bone? I'm suggesting your hand is actually staying on the ground and pushing into the ground for this. Well, into the block or whatever. Just an option. Front of the heel bone. Stretch your lifted leg super long. Take another breath like this. And then you're going to bend the knee, put your left foot down, put your hands inside the right foot, widen the right foot to the edge, tap your back knee, take an inhale, lift your chest. And then straighten your front leg for a half split as you exhale. As you inhale, you're going to rock forward. You could lift the back knee if you like, straighten one or both legs as you exhale. Again. Shift back. Now come forward, ground your hands, and step to down dog as simple as you can. Take a deep breath. Steady exhale. Take 2 more, or take rest in child's pose. Can you be attentive to the breath pace? But never hard on yourself when it gets choppy. Take your left leg up. Step forward, warrior 2. Inhale, you rise. Exhale, settle. Come up on the breath in. Hook your thumbs. Tilted triangle pose. Come back up. Bend your left knee. Tilt forward. Elbow to knee, right arm over the ear, whatever you've been working with here. Take a breath. Hug your left seat in. And then you'll look down. Right hand to hip is suggested. Hop the back foot halfway forward. Get a really strong grip on the floor with your left hand. Look at your left knee. Bend it. Widen it. Suck your left buttock up and in. Then maybe straighten the leg. Then if you can, shift to the front of your left heel bone. And try to stay there. Maybe your right arm goes up, doesn't have to. Stretch your leg really, really, really long. Last breath like this. You're going to slowly step back, widen the left foot, wide lunge, back knee down, and then straighten your front leg, half split. As you rock forward, you might straighten your back leg. And then try straightening both. Do that once more. And straighten both and breathe out. Stay for a breath. Okay, now keep your feet, just turn them, all your toes to the right, come into a straddle, so face the side of your mat. Put your hands down, grounded strongly, and then jump your feet together. Or hip width, and widen your knees and come into a little squat. You can even sit on a block for this if you need, but come into a place where your knees are very bent. The opposite of all the, half moon, standing forward fold stuff. Any position of your legs, they could be super wide, you could be on a block, whatever. If you can, drop your brain down and round your spine a bit. If you are in Milazzo with your feet together, look at your inner heels and try to send them back. So they'll want to pick up and into each other. Send your inner heels down, or just more. It might not actually get there. Okay, now put your weight back in your hands and jump your feet wide. And then stay wide-legged and set your heels behind your second toes or so. And then start to walk your hands more towards your feet, like in between them. And then shift to the front of your heel bones. Take a moment, shift to the back of your heel bones. See what it feels like. And then see what you can do. Go forward. Stay there. Straighten your legs. Hug your outer hips slightly in. And then maybe you fold deeper. If you can't straighten your legs, that's totally fine. If
If you wanted to do this against a wall with your hands on the wall, you could do that. Some of you, if it's interesting, you'll widen your feet. This is not a headstand. If it's interesting, well, I mean, your head's going to come down, but I'm not saying you do a headstand. Your head might come to the floor. If you widen your feet enough, it might work. And then with your crown down, roll more to the crown of the head so that your chin tucks to your chest. Not like strongly, but it's there. And then breathe in completely. Pause briefly if you can. And then breathe out completely. And you might pause empty. So you have Jaalin, Dahara, Bandha, which is the throat lock. And then can you steady your breath? You stay on the front of your heels. And not that much weight in your head. Just be gentle. Your arms could be way out in front of you. You don't have to be anywhere near folded this deeply either. Okay. Start to walk your hands forward, unless you need another moment there, which you can take. Jump your feet in, but not quite as narrow as before. So more of like a yogic squat versus typical Milazzo. Knees bent deeply, elbows inside the shins, broaden your chest. And then you'll start to make your way down to sit. And we'll set up a couple of things. Should check the time. Okay, right on time. So, I would like you to take your blocks or books and bring them close by. You'll probably also want the towel. If you are going to use the towel, it'll look like this. So you'll fold the towel to I don't know, it's folded twice for me like this. And then from the short edge, I'll roll the towel so that it creates this kind of small cylindrical bolster. You should also have your massage balls close by. We'll use those again for a couple little things. And then I'm gonna give you the option to back bend actively before we get into a little bit more shoulder stuff, like shoulder relief stuff. So if you like back bending, I'm just gonna say bridge pose, like half wheel. And if you love wheel pose, you're welcome to do it. It's just really not the energy of the class that I'm trying to offer today. So you take what you like. If you're coming to active bridge, hold on to the edges of your mat, like clasp the edges, feet under knees, and then lift your hips and wiggle or waddle your shoulders underneath of you. Pull on your mat, and at the same time, press your shoulders down to lift your chest. Press the head down to lift the chin, and lengthen. Breathe more steadily. Firm your feet, firm your shoulders, firm the base of your skull. Okay, and then roll down and unpin your shoulder blades. Widen your feet and knock your knees. And then just tip your knees gently side to side a couple times, or you can stay still or whatever you feel good. Okay, so if you still have the desire to do further back bending, you go for it. And I'm gonna, further active back bending I should say. I'm gonna take a block under the back of the pelvis. So like you did at the beginning of practice, horizontal, so it's across the pelvis, not up the spine. And then I'm gonna add the rolled blanket on top of the block, and you can take or leave that. If it feels asymmetrically rolled, you just may want to be mindful of that. And then, so your hips are elevated, you're gonna straighten your left leg, press the heel down, pull your right knee over your hip, catch the knee with your right fingers, and then stretch your left arm up alongside your ear. Thumb is on the floor, pinky is up in the air. And then make your left limbs longer and gently pull your right knee in.
that the leg is, their arm and leg are very active for this. So flex your foot, press your heel down, even your hamstrings down. And then reach your left middle finger up further away from your left heel. You can play with the angle where your right knee is, in or out, closer or further away. Stretch your left limbs, take another breath if you're all right here. Okay, and then you'll let that go. Bring your left foot in, flatten both feet for a sec. And then slide the right leg to straight and pull the left knee in. Hold the shin with left fingers. Pull left knee tighter, and then press right heel down and stretch right arm back. It's on the floor, pinky is up in the air, and then reach right limbs apart and play with where the left knee is. Breathe steadily as you can. Reach long. Put as much length between your right middle finger and your right heel as possible. Okay, now bring your feet in and take your legs, if you can, up in the air. So if there's enough height under your pelvis and if there's enough cushioning there, this might be totally fine. And if it's not, come down and do whatever you need. You can go to the wall and do legs up, or like legs up on a couch. But just rest here for a couple breaths. Do as little as possible to stay in the shape. When you feel ready, you put your feet down. Take the props out from underneath of you. You'll want that blanket still rolled for later. Bring your hips down, widen your feet and knock your knees. And then just tip side to side a couple times. Okay, and then bring your knees in over your hip sockets and catch your kneecaps with your fingers if you can, and then just do a little circle or rocking or whatever. Okay, and then if you can, come up to a seat and you'll take the block, or if you have two, nice to put them side by side. Put them a good foot or more away from the head of your, or the foot of your mat, and then fold the mat over the blocks or books so that you've got a flat surface with sticky mat on top of it. And then you'll come down to your shoulder blades. So shoulder blade region is on the two blocks. You'll hold the base of your skull with interlaced fingers, okay? You can bring your elbows close to your temples for this. And then lift your hips up, but not so much that it's a back bend. Your pelvis should be hovering at the height of your ribs. And then you're gonna scrub your back up and down the block. So with my feet, I am push-pulling in order to drag my body back and forth or to scrub the body. Go slower or faster, just play with it. So you've got the skin of your back pinned to the sticky mat, and then you're moving it around, kind of similar to what you were doing with the ball in various ways with the feet at the beginning. And then referencing that, pause where you think you are in center. Arc your upper body to the right and sway your hips to the left. So you'll spin the skin of the back or spiral, and then come to center and go the other way. So you're side bending to do it technically, but just go back and forth like that, side to side, and twist the skin of the back. So you're more looking to manipulate like more superficial tissues than your muscles.
My teacher calls this fascial scrubbing. And then you maybe go back to forward and back, or you keep with the spiraling or whatever you want to do. But take another couple of breaths like this. Okay. Now, come to center, lower your pelvis, and if you feel like you need to get off the blocks, do that. If you're okay, put your feet together, open your knees, reach your arms up and hold onto opposite elbows, and then take the arms back to frame the skull, and take a little gentle back bend over the blocks if it feels okay. If you need your hands behind your head to hold your head, you could do that. My head is resting on my forearm. And then if you're super flexible and your arm bones are almost on the floor, pick them up a little bit. And just don't hang in your flexibility, but give it a bit more attention here. Okay, now gently press your forearms out beside you, or your palms out beside you, however you can get up off of these objects. Come up to sit for a second, just move your shoulders a little bit. And then unfold the mat. And you're gonna come into a similar position where you're just gonna separate the two blocks, or if you've got books, you're using books. I'm gonna go lowest height. You could have them higher. For the block that's under the upper back, some people like the lengthwise version. That always feels super sketchy for my spine, so I don't love that, but I know a few of you probably do. So do whichever you feel is better. The second one will catch your head. And then if you want, you could have the blanket close by just because you might want it after. And then set your shoulder blades again on the lower block, and then set your head on the second one. Take your feet together and your knees open, and then place your hands on your thighs and pressure your hands against your leg bones. So push down, be gentle. And then you might need to maneuver your shoulder blades a little closer together. See if you can take your hands right up into the tops of your thigh bones, so right at your hip crease, and then take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, push into your thigh bones. You might, and I mean might, briefly pause empty and just see what this feels like on empty, and that's very optional. And then resume and breathe steadily. Let your arms maybe fall to your sides. You could take your arms again to hold opposite elbows behind you and make this pose a little bit more active. Lengthening your side body, press your feet together. Or you could change the positioning of your legs if you need to. See if you can fill your lungs. And then empty. Fill your lungs. And empty. Switch the cross of your elbows if you have that variation. Another 3 or 5 breaths here. Okay, now let your arms go. Press your forearms beside you or whatever makes sense for you. Bring your knees closer together. Gently bring yourself up off the block. Come up to sit. If you do have blocks, they'll be super helpful for this next thing. Some of you, this won't work the way that I'm going to show it to you because it requires a certain amount of mobility at your hip sockets. So you're going to do a wide-legged forward fold if you can. You might sit upright and put your hands behind you. You might fold forward and put your hands in front of you. If it's interesting, block in front of pubic bone, okay? And then the second block would go forward of that. If you had a bolster, that would work as well or better. And then the blanket, you'll unroll and fold, so it's once thinner, but super long. And then you'll put that on the 2 blocks, and this is, again, very optional. Roll up the end of it so that you get this tiny little bit of rolled blanket that's gonna go right in your belly.
So if you had a big breakfast today, or if you're pregnant, you're not going to do this, and I know that you know that, those of you who that affects. So you could just sit upright and fold softly. You could go to a wall and set the bolster between your forehead and the wall and be much more upright. You could just take a different position entirely if you want to. But see if you can stick this rolled blanket in your lower belly and then start to fold. And again, if this is not available to you, you do whatever you need to otherwise. Hands might come out in front of you. And you could adjust so the block is maybe taller. And then if possible, I'm gonna put my chin on top of my finger knuckles so that the front of my throat is actually open. Now, explore flexing the feet and engaging the legs. Just like you've been doing a lot today. And then explore collapsing, and the feet will turn in and you'll just let that go. See what feels good for you. Fill your lungs. And empty. See if your abdomen can soften to receive the pressure of the blanket, if you're doing that part. If you feel ready, start to move out of this shape. Start to come more upright. If you did this, the rolled thing, use it again. It'll go behind your neck. So that little rolled blanket, you don't want it to be very thick. And then you might put blocks or books under the backs of your legs. You could do legs up, you could do seated, you could lie on your side. Don't feel like you need to explain yourself if you have to leave early or anything. Go do what you need to do. I know lots of you have stuff going on. So if you're able to stay, I'll guide you into rest and I'll rest with you. If you have to go do your thing, if you didn't already, you can just send the e-transfer or PayPal to my email and just message me later if you need that. So blocks under thighs, maybe. Feet will collapse. If you do have this towel behind you, that little rolled towel is going to go under the nape of your neck so that you have the inward curve at the back of the neck that should be present generally for humans. That the back of your head is on the floor behind the little bit of rolled towel. Okay, so the head is not elevated, or the skull is not elevated. And then just get yourself settled. I'm just gonna find the Shavasana song. So, some of you will have done this little exploration with me. I'll give you direction with your attention for the first few breaths here. Just see what you can do to follow with your mind, and don't be hard on yourself if you get distracted from it. So with attention to the crown of the head, so crown of the head is lifted right away from the ground. I want you to breathe in with your attention in your crown. And then as you breathe out, slope down into the base of the skull. This is against the floor. It's a rounded curve in the spine. And as you breathe in, travel up into the curve of your neck. So up away from the floor, breathe in. As you breathe out, attention to the upper back, which is round and against the floor. As you inhale, move up into your lumbar curve, low back. As you breathe out, go down into the back of the pelvis, the sacrum. As you breathe in, you'll rise up into the tailbone, which is the end of the line. So as you breathe out, you'll go back to the sacrum, down into the back of pelvis. Inhale up into the lumbar. Down, exhale into the upper back, thoracic. Inhale up at the curve of the neck. Exhale down into the back of the skull. Inhale up into the crown of the head. Exhale, back of skull. Inhale, nape of neck. Exhale, upper back, thoracic, down. In, up into the lumbar. Exhale, down into the back of pelvis, sacrum. Inhale, up to the tailbone tip. And then exhale, travel the rest of it on your own. So back to basin of pelvis, sacrum, and then you'll rise up the spine with your next few breaths. Go super slow. And then you decide, when you get to the crown of your head, maybe you keep following that a few times on your own. And maybe you just let your attention wander. If it wanders to something uncomfortable, go back to watching the breath. Just know that there's not a correct way to do this. There's not a good outcome or a bad outcome. But give yourself space to rest. And if the shape gets uncomfortable, change it. Just sit or something. If you can, give yourself the next few minutes resting, watching the breath, whatever you need. you feel ready, begin to deepen your breath. And if you know you want to rest longer, just expend enough energy to turn this off or to mute this feed. And if you're starting to maneuver, move your fingers and toes, move your tongue, move your jaw, and take the next few breaths to gently come out of stillness. Move the thing out from behind your neck, and if you're ready, roll to one side. Fetal position or something similar. Come up into a comfortable seat, whatever that is for you. And sit tall. Draw your skull back over your center. And take a couple of steady breaths. In practice, it tends to highlight that, or the more you become, willing to rest, that highlights the potential for there to be an inner sanctuary. This is what, it's actually, Annie Carpenter used to say this, an inner sanctuary, which is always there for you and is easier to access in a heightened state of attention. So acknowledge what shows up for you, be open and receptive, and lessen the labels and judgments that you might sometimes place on yourself or others. Thank you so much for sharing with myself and with each other. Thank you for letting me share with you, and for your support, for supporting each other. It's hard to practice right now. It's different. People are, in and out of it in different ways than we used to be. So thank you for showing up. And if you have questions, you can let me know. I hope you have a lovely day and that you're able to find some space where you need it.